Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Pase Ambidiestro. Ambidextrous Pass, fútbol honestamente, soccer, fútbol, honestly, el deporte más bello de este planeta. The most beautiful sport game in this whole world. This week, a those soccer, fútbol fans, esos fanáticos del fútbol, esta semana tuvimos lo que es la fecha FIFA para lo que es las clasificaciones, las eliminatorias a la Copa del Mundo. We had the World Cup Qualifiers, and it was a great, amazing, beautiful moment for the spectators. Crazy moments for certain nations. Agonizing moments for certain nations, moments filled with a lot of sadness, happiness, surprises, everything in between. It was a crazy past few days. World Cup qualifiers took place from November 13 all the way to November 18. Some of these games were more than satisfactory to the fans of this sport. Desde el día de noviembre, el 13 de noviembre hasta el 18 de noviembre tuvimos lo que fue la fecha FIFA, que son las eliminatorias, y tuvimos momentos de tristeza, momentos de orgullo, momentos de felicidad, momentos de sorpresa. Hubo mucho que ver en estas eliminatorias a la Copa del Mundo del 2026. Algunos equipos pasaron por momentos de agonía, otros pasaron por momentos de felicidad, momentos de sorpresa, momentos de tristeza. Y estas son cosas que te da el fútbol. Es un deporte donde tú te desgastas físicamente, haces lo mejor que puedes con tu talento, al balón a los pies. Pero a veces la actuación, por mejor que se vea o tú trates de hacerlo, las cosas a veces no suceden como uno quiere porque el adversario siempre te pone competición y una pelea, y algunas veces esto deja un sabor amargo, pero en realidad el fútbol es un deporte que, como lo he dicho antes, es en un momento estás muy bien y en otro momento, en menos de unos segundos, se da vuelta a lo que es el switch. Y esta fecha FIFA ha dejado a algunas naciones con tristeza, otras con sorpresas, felicidad, agonía y entre todo, muchas emociones. Ha sido una fecha FIFA muy buena donde se resumieron algunas de los continentes, de las eliminatorias en algunos continentes. Ya llegamos a esto fue la etapa final donde ya está todo concluido y ya solo faltan algunas naciones que jueguen lo que es el repechaje para poder calificar. We have gotten all the way to the final stages of these World Cup qualifiers. Now there's only a few nations that have to play the playoffs, the international playoffs, or the playoffs in their continent, depending on how the tournament was organized in their continent. And in general, it was an agonizing past few days for those fans that just watch the game for what it is. And for those that support their nation, it was, depending who you support, it was happiness, it could have been a surprise, it could have been sadness, agonizing. But the beautiful game leaves you with this. I have said it before. This is a sport where in one moment you are top of the world, you feel amazing, and in a split second the switch just switches and you can go from feeling great, doing great, to being left with nothing at times. And that's the amazing part of this sport. You can go through the emotions, the commotions in 90 minutes, and sometimes even in seconds. And that's the beautiful thing, the beauty and the beautiful thing of this sport. For more that you think you have it, at times you don't grasp the full game, and at times you're left with nothing, and at times you're left with everything, or at times you're just left with crumbs of what the sport can give you. Today, we will be focusing on the World Cup qualifiers. As we know, Europe is already concluded, Africa is already concluded, Asia is already concluded, South America has been concluded. The CONCACAF, which is around Central America, North America, has been concluded. We have our teams that will be playing in the playoffs and the teams that did not qualify at all. In Europe, you have a playoff in tournament that will be taking place in Europe, and then you have nations around the world, from Asia, from Africa, from South America, from North and Central America, and even from the areas of Australia, where the Samoans are. You have certain countries from there that will be playing in the intercontinental playoffs. We had a lot of great games from November 13 all the way to November 18. A lot of games to cover, a lot of football. One thing I want to emphasize is, with a lot of games taking place, not only at the international level with nations, but with the clubs taking place as regular season goes, there has been a lot of injuries. And injuries is something that I'm not the only one that has emphasized it. Managers have emphasized it, players have emphasized it. And yes, again, some people complain, and those are players at times, even management teams, management groups, the management staff, they complain due to some of their talent going missing due to injuries. And it's something that has to be figured out. However, this will continue as far as the clubs allow it and the players allow it. At the end of the day, you won't have such tournaments if the players decide not to play, or if they decide to boycott in some type of way, whether it's at the club level or the nations level. But this is something that has been happening. A lot of great players picking up injuries. Yes, some of them are just muscle injuries, but this is what happens when you play the game at a consistent competition and at a very, really competitive level. Some players have picked up muscle injuries, and yes, they are treatable within months, but sometimes some injuries get worse than just the surface. Sometimes players can be out for 2, 3, 4 months, and depending on the gravity of the injury, some players can be out for half a year up to a year sometimes. But that's just something to look at. Injuries happening all around, even in friendlies, and it's something, again, that only clubs and players, and even nations, because they are part of it, but the players and the clubs will be the ones to let it go as far as they choose to let it go. And it happens. It's part of the game. Injuries are part of the game. However, there has been an influx of a lot of games, demanding games. Why? Because we're talking about the qualifiers. Either you keep winning or you get eliminated. And the beauty of it is that every player that represents their nation wants to be in the World Cup, wants to be in the World Cup, win the World Cup, or get close to compete to win that World Cup. For every fan out there that grew up watching football, grew up playing football, soccer, when you are at a professional level, you want to represent your nation with pride, a lot of pride and hard work. It's two of the traits that follow a player when they represent their nation: hard work and pride. Hard work, why? because it helps you reach to a level where you can be in the national team. And pride because you got to represent where you come from, why you are where you are with them, and why you've been included in such team at the nation level. On that note, we'll be focusing on some of the games that technically resume and summarize the end of these teams to qualify. First of all, we have a game that is Albania England. This was the last game England played, and this was a game that England has had a great, flawless rhythm. Thomas Tuchel's England team has achieved a perfect qualifying record with a 100% winning record. 8 out of 8 wins. And most notably, they have allowed 0 goals. 0 goals. This England team is a strong team. I will always stand by that, and I will always say, due to how competitive the Premier League is, a lot of players don't come out of England because all these teams offer competition, toughness, pride, everything. It's a top league for a reason. England has too much talent to not be one of the favorites or one of the contenders to get far in the World Cups. Sometimes, yes, it don't matter how much talent you have. If the work rate is not there, teams will not get far. But England has abundance in talent. It's something that I will stick by, and it's something that I will keep repeating. They should be one of the favorites if they are not already, because they have a well-rounded team with talent, options at each position. They have so much talent that a continuous prolong keeps going in the middle. There has been a lot of news on news networks and media about who is going to play that middle position where Foden can play, Jude Bellingham can play. I can keep going names over names over names. There's options. There's options in this position. And it's sad to see the news, whether it's in the US here or in Europe in general, in England, how much stick they are throwing at this guy, Jude. It's sad. It's sad because sometimes a player, all they're trying to do is play their game. Yes, we are here to judge the players on their performance in the field. In the field. If they behave a certain way in the field, then guess what? That was happen in the field. When something is happening on that piece of green, that green grass, that can be judged. But sometimes judgment at a certain, or criticism at a certain level is harsh. Following Jude, since he's been in Borussia and a growing talent that came from England, I can say that he has never showed a way of misbehaving or a behavior that can be judged as not professional. But the media is giving him a lot of stick, and sometimes it happens. I mean, I have said it before. This is what happens when you're a professional player and you are televised. Whether he does is wrong and whether he doesn't is wrong. So at the end of the day, what he can do and what he has been doing is play his game, do the best he can, help his nation, his club, and just shut mouths around the media and the world. And sometimes that's what you have to do, because when you let the noise in, things happen. But back to England, this is a great, great team. Tuchel has options. It's just about getting the talent and the enthusiasm, the work rate out from the players to make sure this English team is able to go to the top. England has options and options of talent all around. England is one of the qualifiers for this World Cup. They were one of the very few first few European nations to get into this World Cup. And again, well-rounded team, options everywhere. Tuchel has to make it work. After that, we have a Portugal on their last match against Armenia. Portugal the won 9-1. A Portugal wins big and qualifies. The Portuguese national team with Cristiano Ronaldo, he didn't play, but they trashed Armenia. Yes, it's harsh, but they actually trashed Armenia. 9-1 is a high score. It's 10 goals in total. But guess what? Out of those 10, 9 were in favor for Portugal. They secured their pass, and Cristiano Ronaldo also gets to qualify to another World Cup. Ronaldo has been in so many World Cups. Not a lot of players have been able to get to the amount of World Cups he has gotten to, up there with Lionel Messi and Luka Modric. And this is another achievement, another milestone for Cristiano Ronaldo. Portugal has an amazing midfield. Portugal has abundance in the midfield. It's just about finding and being able to click that team with their defenders and their forwards. But Portugal in the midfield has abundance of talent. In this game against Armenia, Bruno Fernandes and Joao Neves scored 3 goals each, a hat-trick. Each player walked away with a hat-trick. But Joao Neves, this kid is young. This kid has talent. He scored a well-executed free kick. The positioning of the ball and the power on the ball. The execution was well done. Amazing goal. For those that saw this game, amazing. I mean, yes, there has been other free kicks like that. Yes. But my way of looking at it is young talent with pressure due to being part of this Portuguese team that has abundance in the midfield. And sometimes some players know how to handle that pressure. Other players, sometimes they crack down under the pressure. He might not feel pressure because he's just focusing on doing his game and performing day in, day out to get the results. But it was a well-executed free kick. Personally, amazing. And if anything, there would have not been any keeper that would have been able to get that ball. But Joao Neves is able to give a hat-trick to help this Portuguese team qualify to the World Cup. Then we have a Hungary against an Ireland. Group F is decided at the end on a dramatic day. It was a dramatic game. Ireland, they achieved a very, very historic victory to snatch second place from Hungary and securing their place in the playoffs. So, on that note, Dominic Szoboszlai. There's a saying, those that laugh at the end, laugh better. It might not sound right, but if you get it, you get it. Those that watch that game, we see such actions from Dominic Szoboszlai. And at the end, Ireland and Parrot laugh better at the end. Sometimes you gotta keep yourself humble. If you feel like you're winning, just be quiet, keep playing, and finish. Finish the game. You cannot laugh if you haven't finished. As we see in this one, Ireland on the overtime, extra time, stoppage time, they take this. A player that stretched himself every inch he could to get that ball in the goal. That is a goal that shows pride, effort. And Ireland is able to at least go and be one of the teams to go to the playoffs, to have a chance to this World Cup. Then after that, we have a Germany against Slovakia. A Germany that wins 6-0. A Germany that they were vying for the lead in the Group A. And in the final day, they decided to just do what they had to do. And Germany secured Group A top spot with a commanding final win, 6-0 against Slovakia. And Slovakia moves to the playoffs. So there is some groups that were decided in the last match, and sometimes that can put nations in such predicament due to the pressure. But Germany is one of those that another nation that has great talent, great work, great technicality, well-rounded all around. Germany is one of those few nations that have options of talent to proceed and go forward in such competitions. Then after that, we have a Montenegro against a Croatia. Montenegro that lost to Croatia 3-2. Croatia wins by 1 goal. A Croatia that has also secured a direct qualification, and Luka attends his 5th World Cup. This is a milestone. A great player in the midfield. For those that know his age, personally, the guy has talent. The guy has quality at his feet. When you know how to read the game and maneuver the game, it gets to a point that you don't have to run much. You're able to reserve your energy and your sprints for certain situation of danger against you or when you are creating danger. But this guy is one of the few that know how to read the game, move the ball around, and just create that momentum to drive and control the game and hold the tempo. 5th World Cup is a milestone. It's a milestone. Croatia qualifies directly. Then we have a Azerbaijan against a France. A France that qualified straight after the win against Ukraine. This game was just like finishing this qualifiers. Mbappe left with an ankle injury. Minor, but it's an injury. Injuries that have been happening all around. A France that is full of talent all around too. Another nation that has talent, another nation that has quality options per position. France has options per position just like England, just like Germany might. These are nations that define the football and at an international level. These are nations that always compete, always give a good show, always give a good game, and always leave everything on the field. Some of it might not be so convincing yet. Like, it's hard sometimes because people expect these players to click just because they are from the same nation. But in reality, it takes time to click. It gets time to know your team, your teammates. So when you play around and you practice more with those people, things start clicking, things start taking off. But we'll be seeing a great World Cup. Then after that, we have a Italy against a Norway. An Italy against a Norway. A game that Italy started winning, but they end up losing 3-1. A Norway that qualifies to staying on top of the group, while Italy has to go to the playoffs. And Haaland is still on fire. I'm going to emphasize it, and I'm going to emphasize it again and again and again. This guy, Haaland, Erling Haaland, he's a different kind of breed. Yes, we have had Messi. Yes, we have had Ronaldo. But the rate this guy is scoring goals is not normal. I'm not comparing anyone. Everybody is at their own level. Everybody is their own person, their own player. But this guy is on another level. He scored 2 goals against Estonia and he scored 2 goals against Italy. Haaland, the top scorer in the entire 2026 World Cup qualifying cycle across all continents, scoring 16 goals. He scored at least a goal in each of the 8 qualifying matches for Norway. Norway stood on top of that group. Norway qualified for staying on top of the group and for winning that last game against Italy. Norway has only qualified to a few World Cups. Now it's chance to write history different. Norway has growth for the past few years when it comes to having talent and competing with that talent to put their nation at a level that can be represented and be put among the few nations that always compete at the World Cup level. But one of the things I want to emphasize on this, since Italy played against Norway, is Gattuso said that it's not fair that Italy has only lost 1 game, while teams like Brazil lost all of their 6 games and they still qualify. I see and I understand where he comes from. But this is just facts. These are just facts. There's 55 registered European nations to compete for the World Cup qualifiers. 55. However, one of those nations has been banned, which is Russia. That leaves you with 54 nations to play so they can qualify for the World Cup. 16 of those 54 can qualify. 12 can qualify directly. But 4 of those nations will come from the playoffs that are taking place. In South America, there is 10 registered nations to play for the World Cup. Only 7 can qualify. 6 qualify directly. 10 nations, 7 can qualify, but only 6 can qualify directly. The 7th nation goes to the international playoffs. Might not seem fair, but there is more nations in Europe. This comes down to a geographical issue, not favoritism. Or maybe FIFA can do better and develop the game and the qualifications differently to make sure everybody gets a fair trial a fair chance. In Africa, you have 54 African nations that are registered to play in the qualifying system. 10 can qualify. Only 9 qualify directly. That 10th nation can qualify from the playoffs, from the international playoffs. So if we really talk about favoritism, Africa and Europe have the same amount of nations registered to play for the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. But in Europe, you have 16 spots that can be filled. In Africa, you only have 10. 6 slots in difference. Maybe the tournament, the qualifiers, can be developed to give everybody a more fair chance. It's not favoritism, but if you want to look at it like that, by those facts and numbers, Europe might be a little bit more favorite if we want to look at it like that. 60 nations can qualify from Europe, 54 nations are registered there to play these qualifiers. In Africa, 54 nations are registered, but only 10 can qualify. I believe Gattuso might be a little bit frustrated because Italy played well, but they were not able to overcome Norway. Maybe that could be a reason why he stated and said what he said. But you only have 10 nations in South America. 7 qualify, 6 qualify directly, and 1 goes to the international playoffs. Again, if you want to focus on favoritism, if anything, Europe has more favoritism. Yeah, it might have better competition. Yeah, it might have better talent. But we have 2 continents with the same amount of nations trying to qualify, and one has 16 slots, the other one has only 10 slots. There's a 6 slots difference. Those are facts, Gattuso. Nothing else. This is why it's soccer honestly, football honestly, fútbol honestamente. Factos son factos. On another note, we're going to keep going with this European qualifiers. We have Netherlands, who won against Lithuania. Netherlands, they won 4-0. Netherlands secured their direct qualification comfortably, and they are in the 2026 World Cup. Then we have a Scotland against a Denmark. Scotland that won 4-2. Huge win. Scotland clinched Group C with a thrilling victory over the 10-man Denmark, qualifying for their first World Cup since 1998. A thriller. Scotland scored a stoppage time, a goal by Tierney to seal the group win. Denmark heads to the playoffs, and McTominay, this guy has been putting a show lately. For club and country, he has been putting a show. The bicycle kick, whoa. What a performance with a fantastical goal. McTominay, all can say as a fan of this sport is keep going, keep pushing, stay healthy, and keep giving the best performance you can for all the fans around, for Napoli, for Scotland. People like you, people love you. Keep it going, McTominay. Amazing, amazing goal. It was a wild type of moment. It came out of nothing and it turned into something. Amazing goal, amazing execution, great performance by McTominay, and Scotland are also in this World Cup. Then we have Spain against Turkey. Spain that tied against Turkey. Finished top of the Group E unbeaten despite Turkey giving them a little scare. Because, yes, Spain scored first, then Turkey tied it, and Turkey was winning 2-1. And Spain answered right away, and they leveled it and made it 2-2. Spain equals Italy 31 match unbeaten. European competitive record. Great for Spain. Great for La Roja. A nervous draw for Spain, yes. And who topped the group. And Turkey took a temporary lead, but settled for the playoffs, and now they have to go and try to be in this World Cup. Spain qualifies to the World Cup. Then we have a Switzerland against a Kosovo. Switzerland that won Group B to secure their sixth consecutive World Cup appearance. Then we have an Austria against a Bosnia that ended up tied. And Austria held on for the necessary draw to win the Group H and qualifying for the first time since 1998. It has been quite a couple years. 28 years. There's a lot of European nations that haven't qualified for a few World Cups, and this time they get the chance due to, yes, great performance. However, due to the new structure of the competition, 48 nations, 42 have qualified so far. We are going to get those other 6 nations from the international playoffs and from the European playoffs. And lastly, we have a Belgium against a Liechtenstein. A Belgium that gave a firm performance, winning 7-0. The Red Devils dominated Group J and qualified for the 4th straight World Cup. This is a team that in their golden era, a lot of things were going on, and some of the topics are a little personal to certain players, but Belgium is a team that had the talent. I believe they still do have the talent, but they just got to pick up a little bit more of work rate to be able to perform at a really competitive level. Sometimes they click, sometimes they don't, but we will see what happens in this World Cup, which nations are up to the challenge and which nations are not up to the challenge to play in this World Cup. So the qualify group runners up, there is 12, and that's Albania, Bosnia, Czech, Denmark, Italy, Kosovo, Poland, Republic of Ireland, Slovakia, Turkey, Ukraine, and Wales. Those are the 12 nations that will be in the playoffs in Europe, plus the 4 qualify via Nations League, the 4 best ranked teams from the Nations League that helped them be able to qualify to these playoffs. That is Romania, Sweden, North Ireland, and North Macedonia. Those 16 teams will be playing in the European playoffs to be able to qualify. And only 4 of them will be able to get into this 2026 World Cup. The playoff draw is going to take place on November 20th. Today, as we know, is November 19th. So that will be taking place tomorrow. The draw will be taking place tomorrow to find out who faces who and in what groups of this playoff tournament in Europe. A lot of games for this amazing sport. In Africa, in the CAF, we have from November 13, match 1, Nigeria against Gabon. Nigeria won and moved forward. And then we had on match 2, Cameroon against Congo. And Congo won and moved forward. Nigeria against Congo was the final game of this playoff. The game was tied and it came down to penalties, and Congo took the win 3-4 on the penalties to qualify to the playoffs. Nigeria will not be in the 2026 World Cup, and Nigeria that had a lot of talent, a lot of good players, and Congo now has to play the international playoffs. Some people, the coach of Nigeria more than anything, were saying that certain people were doing some type of practices that are, everybody has their own judgment, but they were doing some type of practices of giving, I guess, some type of luck. I personally don't want to get into that, but they were doing practices that are unorthodox to win the game. That has to be looked at, it has to be dissected and see if it's true. And in the football pitch, there should only be football. Whether you agree or not, there should only be football in a football pitch. Your hard work should be the one to determine whether you lose or win a game. On the football pitch, only football should be taking place. Then in Asia, in the AFC, we have the United Arabs and Iraq that was played on November 13. This game ended up tied, and then the second leg of this game took place on November 19. Iraq won 2-1 against United Arab Emirates, and Iraq will be in the Intercontinental Playoff. After this, we have the CONCACAF. Panama, Curacao, Haiti will qualify directly to the World Cup, while Suriname and Jamaica will be going to the international playoffs. Honduras and Suriname had the same amount of points, but although Honduras and Suriname finished with the same amount of points, Suriname secured the final playoff spot because they scored 9 goals and Honduras only scored 5. Sometimes enough is not enough, and more in this sport. Sometimes even when you feel like you're winning, you might end up losing, or when you think you have a chance, you might not have a chance at all. These are things that happen, and that's why a mentality that has to be given is always try to play every game like it's a final, so you are able to take a win and take the points. And mostly when a system is built on points, you need to try to win every game like it's the final game to be able to qualify or walk away with a comfortable gap, a comfortable push. But these are things that happen and it's part of the game. These are our qualified teams. We have Canada, Mexico, and the United States, which are the host nations. Then from Europe, we have Austria, Belgium, Croatia, England, France, Germany, Netherlands, Portugal, Norway, Scotland, Spain, and Switzerland. We have 12 European nations qualified so far. Then from Asia, we have Australia, Iran, Japan, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and Uzbekistan. From South America, the CONMEBOL, we have Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay. From Africa, we have Algeria, Cape Verde, Egypt, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Senegal, South Africa, Tunisia. And now we have to wait for the international playoffs and the European playoffs to see which six nations will be filling the last six spots in this World Cup. A World Cup that is giving more opportunity due to 48 nations being able to qualify, and due to FIFA changing the structure of this to have more entertainment, more games, more competition. Again, yes, more games, more entertainment, more competitions, but this comes with a price for players. Injuries are picked up, some players are just injured due to muscle injuries, but that changes certain things. The more severe the injury, the longer it takes, and sometimes it's hard. Just Brazil lost Gabriel, and then they lost Eder Militao recently. And yes, these are muscle injuries that are only going to take a month or two, but at the same time, the clubs need those players. Those are starting 11 players. And it's hard. Nations only account for a small percentage of these players' salary, while clubs have to be the ones to be accountable for a higher percentage of these players' salary. And on top of that, they have to be the ones to treat these players' injuries. So in reality, clubs take more of a backlash. But when it comes to the World Cup, a lot of players want to represent their nation. A lot of players want to be there and show the pride, the hard work, why they are able to be in the national team and why they want to be in the national team. This is just part of football. Those that have played the game understand. And it's not something easy, but there's certain things that come with it when you have a certain amount of games being played in a short amount of times. Sometimes clubs will go with 3-4 days without playing. Now you have every 2 days clubs are playing their competitions, and on top of that you have these international breaks where players are playing every 3 to 2 days, in reality every 2 days. And yes, you're practicing hard at a higher rate and you're competing hard at a higher rate. This is prone to injuries, and again, this will only go as far as certain clubs and players let it go. As far as clubs and players let it go, this is how far this will continue and it will go. On that note, I want to cherish the U.S. national men's team. A great performance. They have been performing great against certain nations they have played friendlies with. Pochettino's trying to get this U.S. team ready. But yesterday against Uruguay, they had a great performance. A really, really convincing performance. Yes, there was images going around about Pochettino that he might have not been happy. Only he knows. Only he also can be the one to judge what he wants from this team. But in reality, it was a 5-1 win, more than comfortable, showing how solid this team is. And one thing I want to tell to the U.S. national team is it don't matter if people say this is the B team, the C team, the A team. If you are putting a nation and you represent that nation and you want to represent that nation, do the best you can. Show pride. Show why you are given the opportunity. The U.S. national team has too much talent to not be able to compete with all these top nations. The U.S. national team should be, and it could be, top 10. Why? because there's more than enough talent. It don't matter if they say that you are a B team. It don't matter if they say that you're a C team. It don't matter. You are there to prove something. You are there for a reason. Try to do your best, show pride, show hard work, and represent who you are representing. As a supporter of this US men's national team, I believe, yes, there can be a way better performance, but it is something to walk on and judge and say that you are heading the right route to build on. I believe Pochettino is right. You gotta change the mindset. This is a America, USA is a nation where soccer, football is not the main sport. It has grown in the last few years, but it can grow more. But it's a mentality that has to be changed. The MLS is a good league. It's not a great league. It can be a great league. Competitiveness and that high level game can definitely be part of the MLS. 100%. But the game has to be looked at from a youth perspective, from the younger ages, to see how to develop the game better and make these players more and more efficient, technical, high work rate, to give the results that these national team needs and the confidence they can spread across for all the supporters to support this national team. As a fan of the US national team, my memories go back as Landon Donovan, and for me, he paved a path, a really hard work player. Dempsey, another one, and my all-time goalkeeper is Howard. He transpired confidence, hard work, and even in moments of doubt, he always did the best he could and held this national team at a high level to always keep it in competition. And for those that are given the opportunity to play in the national team, take it and do your best. Do your best. Represent that badge with pride. With pride. The US has a lot of talent, a lot of quality. And one of those traits that the US should represent is the freedom. The freedom you have. Make the best you can. Do the best you can. You are there and you were chosen for a reason. Whether the noise outside wants to think otherwise, it is what it is. Play. Do your best. This national team is heading on a good, great path. Something to work and play with, and against an opponent that competes, which is Uruguay, a South American team. South American teams are not easy to play against with. They are very physical. They are technical. But more than anything, they can get you out of the game mentally. And this is something for the U.S. national team to build on. It's the first time that the U.S. hasn't lost more. It's the first time the U.S. is able to win 4 games consecutively under a new coach. It's something to build on. Something to work on. U.S. national men's team, amazing, amazing, amazing. Keep working on that, stay on that, and as Pochettino said, the mindset has to change. The fans have to be there. I like what I'm seeing, but there's still room for improvement. And for those that are given the chance to compete in this national team, do the best you can. Take that chance and do the best you can and run with it to be able to represent the U.S. national team. On that note, we also had, as we saw, everybody that has social media and follows some of the great players of this game. we saw that we had Ronaldo with the current president of this country, United States of America. What would be the reason? Only Ronaldo and him can tell you. Is it for the media? Is it for clicks? Is it for views? Personally, not a great fan of such thing. Um, Everybody has the reason. Trump is a businessman, PR, and Ronaldo is a great player who might also be a businessman and PR. So, how this looks, everybody has their opinion. Some might agree, some might not agree with it. But it doesn't look amazing. It's just putting a weird taste on certain people's mouths. Some people don't really agree with it. Others do agree with it. Others are concerned what is going on. But it might be just them getting in the works for a USA against a Portugal, one of the great players in this game, representing their country, and the president of this country trying to get together to work something for this friendly. At the end of the day, clicks, views, likes, PR. So only they know what is going to come out of this. But Cristiano Ronaldo was seen with the United States president, the current United States president. But this is all for Pase Ambidiestro. Esto es todo por Pase Ambidiestro, Ambidextrous Pass. Fútbol honestamente, soccer, football. Honestly, we focused on the World Cup qualifiers. We have only 6 slots open. And 4 of those slots will be filled with European nations, and the 2 other slots will be filled with nations that will be playing in the international playoffs. Esto es Pase Ambidiestro. Ambidextrous Pass, Fútbol honestamente, soccer, football honestly. Thank you for being with us. Have a great day. Have a great night. The most beautiful sport in the world. Please like and subscribe. Have a great night. Thank you.